we die, we die! If we die, we die!
Welcome, Husker fans. Thank you for tuning in to Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I am your host, Caleb Jeanneret. Next to me, as always, is my co-host, Zach Jeanneret. Nebraska obviously lost last week to Michigan State. We'll talk about that one, and then we'll preview this upcoming matchup. It'll be a quick episode. We had a very long episode last week, so thought we would keep it short this time. But make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a like, hit the bell, so you never miss an episode. We come out with these every week, previewing the upcoming game, and then going over some things that happened either before recording or in the last week. Make sure you follow us on socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Bunch of special content over there, extra content, if you will. They're all linked in the description. But Zach, you got anything before we get into some of the news and then looking over last week's game?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, so the news, not much really on the news front. Billy Kemp should be back, or at least close to it. I mean, he was playing last week. Obviously, they didn't feel comfortable with him running as he just fair caught everything. And then Nurelli is probably making progress as well. He was warming up on the sidelines last week before the game. So I assume he's getting close to ready, if not completely ready. I don't expect Deshaun Singleton to be back, but luckily Marquez Buford is getting back and figuring his stuff out. You got anything before we go back to last week's game about those two things?
No. I know I listened to Matt Rule talk, and he just talked about how, like, we're 5-4, but easily could be, some may even say should be, a 7-2 team right now. Looking early on, Minnesota touchdown review taken off. Michigan State drop pass, called a touchdown, pass interference missed, fumble at the end of the game. That was an incomplete pass, called a fumble. A lot of things that didn't go our way, but at the same time, like he said, I mean, we didn't deserve to win that game. Yeah. We played really, really bad, and we didn't deserve to win the game against Michigan State or Minnesota in my eyes.
Yeah.
But those games, I mean, you can't throw picks at the end of the half against Minnesota. You can't throw picks into the game. You can't fumble. Against Michigan State, you can't allow them to drive like that. You can't get 3 chances in the fourth quarter and not take advantage of any of them. I mean,
right.
Not how you're going to win football games. But I think this team definitely can. I think this team definitely could be 7-2. I think this team definitely even could be 8-1 right now.
Yeah.
But we're not, and we're 5-4. But at the end of the day, we definitely have a shot at being 8-4. And so, I mean,
right,
if we're able to go 8-4 and make a Big Ten title game in Matt Rule's first year, I would count that as a success personally.
For real.
I mean,
100%.
We have 5 wins, and past coaches within the last 5 years haven't been able to achieve that. So,
yeah. So, as you mentioned, I mean, yes, Nebraska did lose, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Nebraska was they didn't deserve to win for sure, but I think they were the better team. Nebraska, they turned the ball over 3 times. Michigan State turned it over 0 times. Michigan State got awarded a touchdown, as we talked about. Looking at replay, it wasn't a touchdown. Pass defense looked the worst it has in a while. Passing game was nearly a 0 for Nebraska, and with all that, Nebraska still only lost by 3 points and had a chance to win it or tie it at the end. So I wouldn't say worst case scenario happened for Nebraska in this game. Like, we had some positives. Heinrich still looked good running the ball. Obviously, passing is a different story, but rushing defense still held them to under 70 yards rushing, I think. So rushing defense still held up there. It's just some things that bounced Michigan State's way, and not a lot of things that bounced Nebraska's way. But I know you have some pretty strong takes about how this game ended up and why, not that you're excited that the game ended up this way, but why it might be a positive going forward.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at like the last four, right? So you have Michigan State, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And you want to rank the best ones to lose versus, or you could say the least detrimental and the most detrimental to
Mm-hmm.
lose. Most detrimental, I would easily say, is Iowa. I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty much us and them at the top of the West right now. Wisconsin doesn't look good. They just lost to Indiana. They're playing a backup quarterback. And the thing is, like, you look at like Nebraska, Michigan State, like Nebraska was clearly the better team out there and just didn't play well.
Right.
Wisconsin, Indiana, Wisconsin did not look like the better team out there.
Mm.
Indiana looked like the better team in that game, and Indiana like right away won that game. There was no bad calls. I mean, I'm sure there was bad calls, but no like blatantly bad calls that could go
Right.
and sway the game. So Iowa easily most detrimental. Then you probably go Wisconsin just because they're in the West. Then you go
Right.
Maryland because Maryland's obviously a big game. If you win that one, the momentum going into the Wisconsin night game away is huge. But I think the least detrimental one is this Michigan State game because if you look at the last time Nebraska had a really bad loss, Michigan beat us 49-6, 49-7, whatever it was. We probably played our best game all season against Illinois that next week, or possibly our best game. Purdue was a pretty good game, but
Mm.
Illinois, I think, sticks out as one of our best games against tough competition. We rattled off 3 straight wins and looked really good. I mean, we were, at the end of the game against Northwestern, we sent pressure on 4 straight downs and pressured the quarterback all 4 of them. I think we got 2 sacks there or 3 sacks there and
Yeah.
a QB hurry. Against Purdue, that we let up 14 points in under 2 minutes and we're able to slow everything down, keeping the game again. And I keep going back, in past years, if Nebraska lets up 14 points in under a minute and a half, under 2 minutes, I don't care how far up we are. I feel like we're going to lose that game because in
Yeah.
past years, we just got down on ourselves. And so we look good for 3 straight games. You also look at it in a standpoint is I think is like if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And so I'm not saying if we win that Michigan State game, we don't fix anything, but you also look at it less because you won. And I feel like
Right.
that's not because you're trying to, but that's just how the human brain works, right? You're like, well, it's bad, yeah, but we're winning football games.
Right.
Whereas, okay, we lost. This is an immediate fix. Ball security is an immediate fix that we need. This defense needs some fine tuning for sure right now. The pass game accuracy needs some immediate fix. Whereas if we win that game and we come into this Maryland game, if you come in this Maryland game after winning that Michigan State game and get smoked, I think you drop at least one of the next 2, if not both. I think you go 1-2 to end the year, if not 0-3. You lose this Michigan State game, we're going to learn. They're going to come out firing against Maryland. You win this Maryland game, boost you into that Wisconsin game. And then I think if we're playing Iowa at home for the West, and that's the sides of the West, I think we take that game. And I think we win the West. Which obviously, if we win Michigan State and we look as good as we did against Purdue and Northwestern and Illinois, I mean, that's great. I feel like we went out.
Right.
So I'm not saying I'm saying it's good to lose that game at all. I'm not saying I want us to lose that game at all, but I feel like if you had to pick one to drop, that's the one you want to drop.
Yeah.
And it's also an East team, and so it doesn't
Right.
hurt us as much as you think. Another thing is, if it comes down to it, there's 4 or 5 tiebreakers. Towards the bottom of those tiebreakers, it comes down to your opposite division wins records. And so if you beat Michigan State but you lose to Maryland, but Iowa goes and beats Rutgers but loses to, worst team in the East. I don't know who else they have on their East side, but that does this out of the West. And so, if, like I said, not like saying we want to lose, but if you're going to lose, this is the one to lose because it doesn't hurt you all that much.
Yeah, yeah. So before we get into our game prediction, just curious. Um, there's been a lot of stuff about Chuba Purdy, and do you want to see Chuba Purdy get time? Why isn't Chuba Purdy getting some time? Why haven't we seen Chuba Purdy all year? In my opinion, I mean, we haven't seen him all year. First of all, uh, he's been hurt. He hurt his groin. He did come into the Colorado game towards the end of it when the game was kind of decided. Um, but in totality, I just trust that Matt Rule and his staff and Marcus Satterfield want to win bad enough that if they truly believe that Chuba Purdy gave them a better chance, he would be in right now. So I think it speaks dividends that Chuba Purdy is still third string. I'm not saying Chuba Purdy's not a better passer than Heinrich, a better pure passer just based on traits. He might be. I think even Matt Rule said that going into the year. But there's just some other things that Heinrich provides that Chuba Purdy probably doesn't, with the athleticism, the toughness, the team rallying around him. I mean, Heinrich has been the starter now for what, six straight weeks. So
Yeah.
At that point, it's kind of tough to make a big change like that. But I believe that if they truly thought that Chuba would give them a better shot, then I think he'd be playing. So I
Yeah, that's
assume you
what
have the
I
same
mean.
thought.
Yeah, that last point is really my biggest reason. Is Chuba a better passer than Heinrich? Yes. I mean, he is. I mean, we've seen him in pregame warmups. We've been told that by the coaches. It's been proven time and time again. He's a better passer. And Chuba's not like a slow pocket passer
No,
quarterback. He's
no,
not. He's not nearly as fast as Heinrich or Sims. You know, he's not going to
right.
be running like they do, but he's mobile in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And so he can still make moves. But look at like other teams or even us in the last few years having like a revolving door of offensive coordinators or O line coaches or even head coaches. The team, I mean, you can't rally around anything, can't build anything there. If you just have a revolving door of quarterbacks, the offense has no true leader, you know, and I mean, receivers, quarterbacks throw the ball vastly different at that speed. And as a receiver, you change your game to how you know your quarterback throws the ball. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, Malachi Coleman changes the way he runs routes for Jeff Sims and Heinrich Harburg because they throw the deep ball entirely different.
Yeah.
And so if you're changing something that big in the last 3 games, that's not setting yourself up for success. And I think Chuba realizes that. I think the coaches realize that. I think everyone on the team, realizes that you cannot just make massive changes over and over and over again and expect success. That's why you look at teams like Alabama, they had a quarterback problem. They changed it, didn't work out, and they're sticking with their guy in Jalen Milroe. Is Jalen Milroe a great quarterback? I mean, no. He's good. He's not great, though,
Yeah.
but they're going to stick with their guy because he shows time and time again he knows how to lead that offense and he can run it with enough skill.
Mm.
We're not asking for, the best quarterback in the nation out here. I just want someone that, can hold on to the ball, which is exactly what Heinrich was in the start of the year. He never had great passes, never had crazy flashy plays, but for the most part in the start of the year, he held on to the ball and he kept it in our hands. And when he did have to make the decision, he usually made the right one and he didn't
Yeah.
put us in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's changed a little bit. But I feel like he's gonna, work hard to get back to it. And we all know he can be there, and he's played against top competition being there, and so I feel like we can definitely get back.
Yeah, for sure. So getting into our game prediction. This is the first time Nebraska is coming into the week as an underdog. I'm pretty sure since the Illinois game. I think Illinois was favored in that game. But since then, I think Nebraska's been the favorite, I want to say. They were the favorite against Purdue. They were the favorite against Northwestern. They were the favorite against. I guess that's it, right? Because it goes.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Illinois.
Well, I don't know if they. I think Illinois was favored in that game. So I
I
think
don't
Illinois
no,
was favored. You don't
they
think so?
weren't. I know they weren't.
Are you sure?
Illinois wasn't favored. NIU wasn't favored. La Tech wasn't favored.
So this is the.
Um,
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure Illinois was favored in that
Purdue
game.
and Northwestern weren't favored. Michigan State wasn't favored.
I think I'm almost positive that um, Illinois was favored in that game. Let me check right here. Yeah, Illinois was favored by 3.
Oh, okay. I thought we were favored, but I know NIU obviously wasn't. La Tech wasn't. Purdue, Northwestern weren't, and Michigan State wasn't.
Yeah. So this is the first time Nebraska's been an underdog since the Illinois game. Obviously, we saw how that worked out. Illinois was actually a bigger favorite than Maryland is, but the site of the game also changes that. Nebraska's at home, so that's gonna give Nebraska a little bit of an edge there. But getting into some stats, the over/under is also set at 44. Maryland has the 4th best offense in the Big Ten, 2nd best passing offense, behind Ohio State, averaging over 280 yards per game. The rush offense is near the bottom, but over the last 4 games, they're 0-4. They've lost 4 straight, and they're averaging just 66 rushing yards per game. They finished with negative 49 last week against Penn State. On defense, they're pretty average against the run, 6th in the conference, and they're 2nd worst against the pass, allowing 232 yards per game through the air. I think the only team worse than them is Purdue, and we had some pretty explosive plays against Purdue through the air, so look for that also. And as we know, Maryland has pretty safe to say, top 4 quarterback in the Big Ten, and Talia Tagovailoa. I mean, you got the main guys, J.J. McCarthy, Drew Aller, Kyle McCord. I think Talia is probably 2nd on that list behind J.J., but he's definitely top 4. He's really good. He's really good. As I said, Maryland started out 5-0, but have lost their last 4, including games to Illinois and Northwestern, who Nebraska obviously beat, but they did handle Michigan State pretty easily earlier in the year. So I expect this to be a really good game. I expect it to be really close all the way through. I expect it to be close in the 4th quarter. I expect both teams to have a chance to win in the 4th quarter. I do expect Nebraska to dominate the time of possession. I think Talia is obviously going to be throwing it a lot. Nebraska likes to run it and keep the ball as long as they can. I do think turnovers are going to be better this week. Obviously, they can't get much worse. But I think interceptions are going to be down. I think hopefully they get the fumble thing out of control. I don't think the weather is supposed to be super bad. I think it's supposed to be like 60 degrees in Lincoln on Saturday. So hopefully that helps out Nebraska in the fumbling department. But I think Nebraska's defense comes out firing. As Zach said last time we saw a loss like this, I think the defense had one of their best showings against Illinois. So I think the defense comes out fired up. Tony White's going to be more aggressive. He mentioned earlier this week that he wasn't aggressive enough in calling blitzes. I think Talia is going to be off his game a little bit, getting pressured by guys like John Bullock, guys like Linhart, guys like Hutmacher, Ty Robinson. I think people are just going to be going after him all game. I do think Maryland finds a way to make big plays, as they always do. Talia is a great quarterback, but I still think Nebraska pulls out the win at home and becomes bowl eligible in a tight one. 27-24 is my prediction. I think they just do enough to handle business. So obviously Nebraska covers the 2.5 point underdog spread, but also hits the over in a rare one, especially in a November Big Ten game. But I think the weather is going to be favorable for that, and I think Nebraska comes out for the win.
Yeah, Caleb mentioned a lot of the same offensive stats that I had as well. We're more on the rushing offensive side, averaging 185 yards a game. They're more on the passing offense side, averaging 280 a game. Both of those are in the top 30 in the nation. But a lot of what a lot of people don't understand is these defenses are nearly identical. This Maryland and Nebraska defense. So Nebraska rushing defense is obviously really good, 77 yards a game. That's number 3 in the country. Both these defenses for the rush are top 25 in the country, and then both of these pass defenses are outside of the top 50. So Nebraska's giving up 221. That's number 51 in the country. And then Maryland's giving up 232. That's 73. Another thing you can look at is the sacks. So both these teams are top 15 in the country in sacks per game, just over 3 apiece. And then sacks allowed as well. So the offensive lines of both these teams are struggling. Nebraska is giving up just over 2.5 sacks a game. And then Maryland just under 2.5 sacks a game. And so Nebraska's number 99 there, and Maryland's number 75 there as well. And so look for a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks because both these teams are great at sacking the quarterback on defense, but struggle against pass rushing teams on offense. And then this definitely plays into Maryland's favor defensively a little bit because both these teams are so good against the run, but only one of them does run as much or centers their offense around the run, and that's Nebraska. Defensively on the pass, yes, they both struggle, but Nebraska doesn't pass the ball nearly as much as Maryland does. And so I feel like this game is going to be more about pressuring the quarterback, turnovers, and third downs. And then on turnovers as well, both these teams are not good at hanging onto the ball. Nebraska obviously much, much worse at negative 1.33, but Maryland's about even on turnovers, which isn't bad at all, but you always want to stay in the positive. And so it's going to go, turnovers are going to be big. Third downs are going to be huge, especially in this game. You know, got to force third and longs for Talia. Can't give him third and shorts because it's so much harder to sack the quarterback on third and shorts. Passes are quicker. He has, much less time to get, or as much, I guess. There's much more of a window for him to get the ball out. Whereas like third and long, it's got to be a deeper pass. We get more time, right? And so got to rush the quarterback and then got to be able to run the ball on this defense and then create explosive plays. Malachi Coleman's going to be a huge factor in this game. That's what probably our most explosive receiver. Jalen Lloyd, super fast. And then Thomas Fredoni is going to be big here. And then just the offensive line or the defensive line and the linebackers as well.
Yeah. I think a big thing in this game is going to be getting a lead.
Oh, and score. The score.
Prediction.
A lot lower or a little lower than Caleb's. I don't think Nebraska's putting up 27. I think if you start allowing Maryland to get over 25, I don't think we win a shootout. This is a lot like what I was saying before the Colorado game. I think you got to keep their score low if you want to win the game because we're not a team that's going to go win a shootout, right? We don't have huge explosive playmakers all over the field like USC, Washington, Oregon, those teams do. Colorado does. We're more centered around, making the game muddy, making the game dirty, and winning in the fourth quarter. So I think we come out and I think we win this game 21-17. So a little bit low scoring on that. But I think that's the way you got to win this game if you're going to want to.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the thing in this game that's going to be really important is for Nebraska to get a lead and keep a lead. Because I think if Nebraska gets behind, if they get behind more than 7 points, I think if Maryland comes out and scores a touchdown first drive, the game's obviously not over. But if Maryland comes out, scores, stops Nebraska, scores again, it's going to be really tough for Nebraska to start getting and putting more drives together. You're asking the defense to make multiple stops at that point, which is definitely possible. I just think this offense isn't built to come from behind by double digits. So I think getting a lead, keeping the ball, keeping the time of possession, I think Nebraska can excel doing that. So if Nebraska gets up 7, I'm gonna be really excited. Obviously, turnovers are gonna play a factor in that as well. But you got anything else before we close this off?
Nope, I don't think so. We will be at the game though, most likely.
Yes, most likely. Zach will be at the game. I am probably sitting at 80% going to be at the game. It's going to be a good one. I mean, we went to the Michigan game and it was scorching hot. This week, it's going to be much better. It's going to be pure fall weather, 60 degrees. Going to be looking forward to it. So, yeah. Without further ado, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss an episode. Follow all the socials in the description. But we'll see you guys next week. Go Big Red.
If we die, we die! If we die, we die!